Hello and welcome to another Genestealer Cult video, and before we get into today's video I would like to say a big thank you to Sam for sending in some awesome pictures of his brother Tim's Krieg army. Absolutely love this Krieg colour scheme, classic sort of blue French style World War I colour scheme. It just works really well, and the grass tufts and the basing, all of it just ties the whole army really well together. So thank you for sending these pictures in. If anyone else has got any cool pictures that they want me to use in my videos, then please post them on my Facebook page or email them directly to me like Sam did, and there will be Facebook page links and email addresses down in the description below. Now without further ado, let's get into today's video. Now today guys, I want to do a quick tip tactica on a unit which I think has some pretty good potential going in to 9th edition for the Genestealer cult. Now we all know that sort of cult they're struggling a little bit. They're struggling a little bit for some competitive edge, and I think anything that we can do that will help them pick up a bit of power and take people by surprise is a really good thing. So one of the units that I've been having some pretty good success with and that I've been looking at a bit more closely are the Atalan Jackals. Now this is going to be sort of a quick tip tactic for how I've been finding them most effective in 9th edition. So the traditional way, and this is one of the things that I think Genestealer cult players have been struggling with, is adapting their plans. I mean, those plans have been generations in the making. You can't just change them. But one of the things that I have been looking at with the Atalan Jackals is changing fundamentally the way that we use them. So for those of you that aren't aware, the Atalan Jackals are they're like bikers. They're dirt bikers basically. And the traditional thing to do with them was to give them 5 demo charges, because you can give each one of them a demo charge, and deep strike them in via cult ambush, and through a combination of stratagems you could throw all your demo charges, and you could then get +1 to hit and +1 to wound with them, and then if you had a Jackal Alphas nearby, you get another +1 to hit with them, so they were hitting on 2s with +1 to wound, and then they could, they were basically like a biker bomb. They'd come dirt biking off the side of a big ramp, motocross style, onto the board, or they come driving up the ladder out of sewer pipe and onto the board, and they would blow something up with demo charges. Now, because that's like such an obvious thing to do with them, a lot of players, the moment they saw biker bombs in the Genestealer cult players list, would screen them out. And it was one of those tactics. One of the big problems that Genestealer cult had in general is it worked the first time on the opponent, but it never worked the second time. Now, if you're facing someone in a tournament and they've not faced against cult before, you'll catch them by surprise. But if they have faced cult before, they won't fall for your tricks. So that biker bomb tactic already, started losing potency about 2 or 3 months after the Codex came out, and then Games Workshop doubled the price of the demo charges, and then the Atalan Jackals themselves went up a little bit of points in 9th edition, and overall that biker bomb tactic is a really difficult one to pull off now. I think it's essentially, if you want to do it, you've got to spend at least 125 points. So, not ideal, to say the least. Not ideal. So, instead of using them like that, and for pure damage output, it's a real 8th edition mindset. And instead, what you kind of want to do with your Atalan Jackals, was a couple of things you can do. But you want to start looking at them in a 9th edition way, and you want to be looking at things like objectives, but also about board control. So one of the things that, what basically happens in nearly every 9th edition game is there's a big brawl over the central objectives. Now, normally what happens is both armies will advance to the centre one way or another, and they'll have a bit of a brawl, and whoever can sort of grind it out and win the brawl will win the game. Awesome. But there is another tactic, which is where you stop the enemy from getting to the objectives. You delay them by a turn or two. Because if you're playing a 4 objective game and you're able to deny your opponent getting to those objectives in like maybe turn 3 instead of turn 2, well, what that can potentially open up for yourself is the opportunity to get 15 points on the primary 1 round, maybe even 2 rounds if you're lucky. You'll get the extra bonus for controlling more objectives than the opponent. So it's definitely something that you wanna have, like something that can help you basically mess up your opponent, block up his deployment zone, corral him, hem him in, and Atalan Jackals do that really, really well. So if we go through the unit, the first thing is that they have a 14-inch movement. That's a really, really, really strong movement profile. It's faster than most of the vehicles, and it's just really good. So you can take them, you can give them a 14-inch movement, and in terms of durability, in terms of other movement, you can caught ambush them. Caught ambushing them is a good idea, potentially a good idea, because they've got quite a good, strong base size. You could use them, and obviously with the new coherency rules, you'd have to be careful with this, but you could definitely use that big oval biker base to, turn 2, deep strike them in, and you can deep strike them 3 inches away from the enemy. You wouldn't be able to charge afterwards, but you could deep strike them, and you could use lying in wait so that you deep strike 3 inches away, and the enemy then, you're hemming them in, and you can conga line them, semi-conga line, and combine that with the wolf quads, which have got quite good durability. You could definitely deep strike them in turn 2 and deny your enemy. But problem with this is that it relies on deep striking, on cult ambush, and well, some armies, they only need turn 1 to start moving out and getting to where they need to get. We've got the new Dark Angels on the horizon, and they are looking pretty fast. So I think that waiting till turn 2 to try and hem people in might not work. I think you potentially want to start hemming them in turn 1, if possible, if you get that first turn drop. And at the very least, if you don't get a chance to drop on them, you want to be able to compete with their maneuverability. So start them on the board. Now they are pretty durable because they've got 2 wounds each, they are toughness 4, and they have an inbuilt -1 to hit from shooting attacks. Skilled outriders, basically they're duck, dodge, dive, duck, and dipping all the shots coming into them. Now in terms of weapons, in terms of like how else you can make them pretty maneuverable, you can combine them with the Cult Creed Twisted Helix, so that when they advance, they get to advance an additional 2 inches, which means that they will be advancing a minimum of 3. But it gets even better, because you can then actually combine them with the Achilles Ridge Runner. And if you take the Flare Launcher, which is the best option on the Achilles Ridge Runner, which gives you a 6 at Feel No Pain, not only does it give you a 6 at Feel No Pain, but once per game, you can use the Flare Launcher to help your Cult Biker units advance an additional 6 inches. So if you read the full rule, in addition, once a battle at the start of your movement phase, you can select one friendly Cult Biker within 6 inches of that model. That unit moves an additional 6 inches if it advances this phase. So no dice roll is necessary. So you don't roll a dice and you advance and get the d6. You just basically, when you're rolling your advanced dice, if you use the Flare Launcher, you get the full 6 inches. But combine that with Twisted Helix, you're actually advancing 8 inches. Combine that with your movement of 14, you're advancing 14 inches. 22 inches. So 14 plus 6 plus 2, 22 inches. So yeah, you're advancing 14. No, you're advancing. You are advancing 22 inches. Now that's across the board. That is straight across the board into the enemy's deployment. So, across no man's land, you're blocking them up. Now, some people are saying, yeah, but, what about, if you advance, I can't charge or I can't shoot. That is not true. You see, you can give every single one of your Atalan Jackals a shotgun and a cultist knife. Now, if you give them a shotgun, that is an assault weapon, which means, yeah, it's -1 to hit if you advance and shoot, but that's not a problem because it's just firing off some shotgun blasts. And if you're within half range with the shotgun, it goes up to strength 4. And then do not forget that you can use a Jackal Alphas. They have an extended range to Jackal Alphas when working with bikes. So your Jackal Alphas can give them +1 to hit, so it counteracts the -1 to hit. Then do not forget that when you are using bikes, there's a Psychic Awakening stratagem called Close Range Firefight, which means when you are shooting with a pistol or an assault weapon with your Atalan Jackals, you can reroll all wounds with them. So you've got the +1 to hit, so you're hitting on 4s, rerolling all wounds on your shotguns. And your models are only 14 points a model. They're not expensive. So they are really, really powerful. And then it just keeps going, doesn't it? And then if you're like, well, I want to charge up to the enemy, I want to, with my big squad. We haven't even talked about squad size. You can take these things in really big squad sizes. Okay, so you can actually take. It starts off with 4, and you can take an additional 8 of them. So you can take 12, and then on top of that, you can take 3 of the wolf quads. And the wolf quads are just tanky. Okay, they've got 4 wounds apiece, and they still have a 14-inch movement. So they're really good at just. If you could take a 15-man squad of these bikes, and you can just, that's a lot of wounds. Including the quad bike, that's a lot of wounds. And you can move and you can advance them, and you can go this 22 inches. You can blast them with all your shotgun weapons and everything. And then, it gets crazy, guys. You have a psychic power in the Genestealer Cult Codex called Psychic Stimulus, which allows you to charge after you've advanced. So imagine you've got this big block of bikes. You literally move them, full advance them with the flare launcher, give the enemy the beams, give them a shot, give them +1 to hit, give them the shotgun blast, then charge in. Don't forget, because each one's got a cultist knife, you've got an extra attack per guy. So each one of these bikes has got an extra attack. Don't forget that they are strength 4 because they are Twisted Helix. And then you can stack some other buffs on them, if you so wish to. So another buff you could stack on them could be Strength from Beyond. It's a psychic power. I'll just double check it. It's a psychic power that gives you an additional attack. Okay, so that is, again, you're looking at 3 attacks per guy. Okay, Might from Beyond. And it gives you an extra strength and attack. So actually, suddenly, all your bikers are strength 5. That's the sweet spot. And they've got 3 attacks each. Nice. Now, they don't have any AP. I will admit, they don't have any AP. So that is a bit of a problem. And you're obviously having to then potentially stack, 2 psychic powers on these bad boys. But that is a big old Death Star unit that is flying forward. And it's tying the enemy up. They've got good amount of wounds. And yeah, they're just really, really, really durable, and they are actually between the shotguns and the close combat weapons. You are looking at quite a strong first turn punch, and the thing with Cult is it just depends on how many buffs you want to stack on the unit. Because on top of that, you could then go, well, Twisted Helix, I'll use my special Psychic Awakening psychic power, and I'll give them all. Oh no, that's oh yeah, if you select 1 enemy infantry unit, and potentially you get +1 to wound. Now, obviously, your Psychic has to be within 12 inches, so that might be more of a turn 2 thing. But yeah, we're talking about this in the case of Twisted Helix. But you might be thinking, well, I don't need the full 22-inch move. 20 inches would be enough. If that's the case, don't take Twisted Helix, and instead look at things like Pauper Princes. Maybe you don't want all the strength. Maybe you want all the rerolls, because your guys only hit on 4s normally. So having all the strength 5 attacks in the world is no good if you can't hit anyone, right? So instead you go, right, well, I'll have full rerolls because I'm Pauper Princes, and the turn I charge I get full rerolls. That's nice. And again, with Pauper Princes, you can start stacking on things like their psychic power. It's called Last Gasp, and when you die you get a chance to make an attack before you die on a 4+. It's not as good, I probably wouldn't bother with it, but it's still an option. You've also got things like Bladed Cog. So you might be thinking, I don't necessarily need to do a lot of damage to the enemy, but I need my bikes to tie them up, and to do that I need durability. So you take Bladed Cog, and you get a 6+ invulnerable save, and you can use your psychic power to give them a 5+ feel no pain, and that makes them real tough. The point is that they're a really, really durable unit. How I actually see this working is you take 2 big squads of these bikes, 2 big chunky squads. No, I think 3 would be too much, but I think 2 big chunky squads would be good. And turn 1, you Twisted Helix them up or whatever, or you just charge, you block them in. They won't have all the buffs, but they'll have some. And then turn 2, you have another bike squad that comes flying forward, and you're able to do the same thing again, but this time you could potentially be deep striking in things like Primuses to give them another +1 to hit and some reroll 1s to wound. So loads of stuff you could do. Strength 5, if you take a Primus with one of these biker bombs, because you could just take the 1 and not do a turn 1 charge and have it as a turn 2 counter attack. Flexibility, versatility. And your bikers go flying in turn 2, they give the shotgun blast, they're strength 5, they've got 3 attacks each, you're able to have a Primus nearby. That Primus is then giving them a +1 to hit, fantastic. Plus you're able to give them reroll 1s against one enemy target, fantastic. If you're strength 5 with 3 attacks, and you're hitting on 3s, you're going to be hitting on 3s, which is already really good. Then you'll have +1 to wound because of the Twisted Helix power, so you'll probably be wounding things on 2s, rerolling 1s. You'll just drown them in attacks. So it's definitely something to be thinking about. I think, and bear in mind you've got so many wounds, and your bikes aren't that expensive. They're 14 points a pop. They are 40 points, so it's pretty crazy. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's meant to be a quick tip tactic. We went on for 15 minutes, but that's just because there's lots of things you can do with these Atalan Jackals. I think the best thing is just to take a unit, just 1 unit of them, max size that bad boy, and just buff them up and just throw them into the enemy turn 1 and just see what damage they can do. And you can take the board and you'll slow them down, and I just think it's a really, really good way. Either Bladed Cog speed bump or Twisted Helix just nutters, just charge now. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below, and of course, I'll see you guys next time.